The lungs of the earth are going to be given back to it, which is all these trees and all of these flowers, and it's going to be a whole total different vibration.
The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fella is come up against us.
Because the Lord is going to restore everything. You're going to have a total different vibration on the earth, a total different smell. You're not going to be walking down the street and smell shit and piss, and no foul odors or nothing like that, because the lungs of the earth are going to be given back to it, which is all these trees and all of these flowers, and it's going to be a whole total different vibration. You're going to see the aura and how things are going to change and how elevated things are going to be. Our senses are going to be heightened, Everything about us is going to be glorified.
The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice in thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fella is come up against us. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Kakodash, and do my honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds, in the name of Yahweh Bahashem Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem Shah. All right, and what I want to get into today, is to finish out the book, all right, of James. We made to the 5th chapter, which is a heavy chapter, to speak about the former, okay, and the latter rains, all right, and it condemns, all right, the rich man, all right, and this rich man that is speaking of Esau Edom, okay. Now, when you go to it, just real quick. So let's just pull it up. All right, James chapter 5 and verse 1. Okay. And when you go here, it's 3 Salaki. Okay. And this is directly calling out Esau. And see, the Bible is coded. Most High, wrote the Bible in a way, all right, that if you don't have the Spirit, all right, the Holy Spirit, all right, it's not going to make sense, and that's why, we got to be thankful, for Yahweh Shah, all right, because this sacrifice made him worthy to send down the understanding to his brethren, okay? We have this understanding based on the sacrifice, of Yahweh. Okay, he was able to send down the comforter, okay, in these latter days, and gave us the understanding. You see, the mysteries, and because within that understanding is our hope, going into the kingdom. You see, so like let's go here. It says, "Go to now." James 5:1 says, "Go to now, you rich man, weep and howl for your misery that shall come upon you." Okay, and this is speaking to the devils, man, directly to these Edomites, beginning with the elite bankers, man, and their little underlings, the super rich and wealthy. Okay, this is speaking directly to them because they're responsible for this whole anti-Messiah system that's established in the earth. These are the ones that finance, all right, the rebellion against Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Okay, these are the men that want to set up a new world order, okay, and replace the Most High with technology, man. Okay, this is who he's addressing. All right, speaking to the head of you Edomites, man. All you Edomites are gonna be punished and go to captivity. Okay, but he's gonna punish, all right, the head, okay, of you Edomites even more severely. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 6th chapter. Okay, let's go here in G and T. All right, because G and T can get to it on this chapter here. Uh, Wisdom of Solomon. Oh, yeah. There we go. There we go here to the book. Wisdom of Solomon. Let's go to chapter 6. Okay, because the Lord addresses how he judges, the rulers, the heads. Okay, so when you go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6, it says, "So then, you kings, you rulers, all right, you rulers the world over, listen to what I say." God damn, they're gonna pop up you to death. Back in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6, verse 1, it says, "So then, you kings, you rulers of the world, listen to what I say and learn from it." All right, and these devils not meant to learn. These devils is not in them to learn. Okay, but there's a responsibility that comes with ruling the earth. Okay, as we fumbled, we was in rulership, we fell short, okay, on our end when it came to the responsibility of enforcing righteousness in the earth. Okay, the main point of rulership is to enforce righteousness. Okay, and only the sons of God, all right, are created to do that in its entirety. Okay, and as we're going to be changed, get those new bodies, the laws within us, we're going to be able to fulfill, our end of the covenant, in this new covenant. Okay. And it says, it says, "You govern many lands and are proud that so many people are under your rule. But this authority has been given to you by the Lord Most High. He will examine what you have done and what you plan to do." Okay. And these devils are up to straight madness, man. What these niggas have done, they're going to be judged for, and what they're planning to do. Okay. Since Esau wants to try to tap into thought crime, no, the Most High is going to really execute judgment for your thoughts, man, what you plan to do. Okay, because this man is planning some pure wickedness and evil in the earth, man. Okay, this new system is wickedness on another level. Okay, tyranny on another level. Okay, and he's trying to imitate the Most High. He's doing way too goddamn much in this new system, man, with this tack ass technology, man. Okay, it says, "You rule on behalf of the Most High and His kingdom. And if you do not govern justly, if it says, and if you do not govern justly, if you do not uphold the law, if you do not live according to the Most High's will, you will suffer sudden and terrible punishment. Judgment is especially severe on those in power. Common people may be mercifully forgiven for their wrongs, but those in power will face a severe judgment. Okay? You see, Esau was guilty, okay, of rebellion, man. Okay? Now, first and foremost, like we mentioned, this is speaking, to the sons of God. Okay? Because only Israel can be mercifully forgiven. You see? But this just showing you how the Lord judges the leaders, the rulers. Okay? And the rulers of Esau, Edom, has been absolutely diabolical, man. Okay? It said judgment is especially severe, all right, on those in power. It says, common people may be mercifully forgiven for their wrongs, but those in power will face severe judgment. The Lord of all is not afraid of anyone, no matter how great they are. Yeah, the Most High not looking at Esau like he's trying to figure out how to deal with this nigga, man. Esau is light work, man. See, Esau, he dominates men. The Lord has given him the power to dominate men in the earth. Okay? But when he tries to go out of the class of men, poor thing, this devil not, what he cracked up to be, man. And the Most High from the show that, okay? But the Most High is not impressed with no goddamn Esau and his rulership, man. All right? And his tech-ass technology, man. Okay? It said he himself made everyone great and come in the light, and he provides for all equally. But he will judge the conduct of rulers more strictly. Okay? But he will judge the conducts of rulers more strictly, man. So you devils, you can get ready, man. You have a hell of a judgment. All right? You elites, you underlings, these corporation CEOs, you can get ready, man. Okay? So just want to go into that. Let's go back to the book of James. All right, let's go here to the book of James, chapter 5 and verse 2. It says, your riches are corrupted, okay, and your garments are moth-eaten, man, okay, because this man, has scammed the earth. You see, because you go into the dollar, this man is able to print wealth out of nothing, man. The dollar is just printed wealth. Okay, it's not an actual resource. Okay, it has no value than what people believe it have. Okay, so this whole dollar system, this whole economy, okay, is corrupted, man. Okay, it says, in your garments are moth-eaten, your silver and gold is cankered, and the rust of them shall witness against you. Yeah, because this man has all the wealth just hoarded up, and that's gonna be a witness against him, man. You look at the condition of the earth, all right, and you look at all the wealth that this man has hoarded up, man. That's a witness, man, that he's a terrible judge, man, a wicked king. To hoard up all that wealth while the earth suffers, man. Okay? That's a witness against that devil, man, against his poor leadership. Okay? And shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasures together for the last days. Okay? Because guess what? That treasure, the real wealth that these devils have, these elites have stored up, that's going to be translated to Israel, man. All right? This devil got gold vaults and, and precious stones. You best believe this devil got some real resources, man. The lands, the fatness of the earth, man, all that's coming to Israel, man. Okay? It's going to be translated unto Israel. You see? Because even when you go to let's go here. I believe that's in Zechariah 14. And there's plenty of other scriptures that speak about, their wealth transfer that's coming. Okay. I think when you go to Zechariah chapter 14, verse 14, it says, and Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. You see, that's going to be a great wealth transfer, man. All right, from the elites, okay, of Esau, Edom to the elect, okay, of Israel, man. You see, all the wealth is going to be transferred from Esau to Jacob. When you lose your kingdom, you lose everything. Okay, so anything that's of any real value, all right, that this man has is going to be transferred, all right, to the sons of God. Okay, so yeah, let's go back. You know, there's plenty of other precepts to go into that. You know, you can tap in. You know, leave room for brothers to lay them back. But this is James 5 and 4. It says, behold, the hire of your laborers who have reaped your who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, man. Okay, and the because the laborers that started this whole economy was slavery. Okay, when you go into what kickstarted this economy of today, it was the labor of the slaves of the Israelites, man. This devil has been able to get so far ahead of all these heathens because he possessed the 12 tribes in captivity, man. Okay, all those free years, okay, of labor from the tribes, it kickstarted this economy, man. Okay, Jake produced a lot of labor. Okay, he produced a lot of wealth for these Edomites, man. Okay, and then in this system now, everybody is defrauded by this devil, but it began with what he did to the tribes. This whole economy is based on what he did with the tribes. See, Esau really got old money, man. Okay, their wealth, you know, created from slavery. Okay, these devils still got it. It's still here. Okay, it says, behold, the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered to the ears of the Lord of Sabbath. Oh, yeah, and that's the elect crying against this man. You know, even this lesson, we're crying against this nigga, man. You know, we're bringing out his injustices, man. You see? But this devil, even how he runs the earth today, all right, it's about, you know, keeping the masses impoverished and the few elite, all right, enriched, man. Okay? Well, let's go here. I want to play this quick video, all right, just to show the nature of the system, you know, just to show the nature of the system, man. All right, because it's quick, you know. And just go into the pay gap, all right, between CEOs and workers, okay, in which, you know, you have to understand, even, you know, the CEOs that we see, you know, the people that we can look up and look at their net worth, you know, and their salaries a year, all right, these these several $1 million salaries a year. Well, guess what? The elites, all right, the banking families are way above them. You know, so there's even a bigger wealth gap, you know, than the one that she's finna explain. So let's play this real quick.
What is the real pay gap between CEOs and workers? Imagine working full-time and still struggling to make ends meet, while the boss earns hundreds of times more than you. That's what the pay gap is all about. The actual difference in pay between chief executive officers and regular employees is huge and has grown a lot over the years. On average, CEOs of big United States companies earn about 280 to 630 times more than their typical workers. For example, in 2024, CEOs at companies listed on the Standard & Poor's 500 index earned about 285 times the median employee salary. Meanwhile, CEOs at the 100 largest low-wage employers earned around 632 times more than their median workers. Some companies, like Starbucks, show even more extreme differences, with the CEO earning over 6,600 times what the median employee makes. This gap has gotten much bigger over the past few decades. Back in 1965, CEOs earned about 21 times what the average worker earned. But by 2024, that number had jumped to nearly 290 times for large companies. CEO pay has increased by almost 900% since the late 1970s, even after adjusting for inflation. During the same time, the typical worker's pay has only gone up about 4.5% in real terms. Most of a CEO's pay comes from stock awards and options, which are tied to how well the company's stock performs. In 2020, about 79% of CEO pay came from stock-related bonuses. When the stock price rises, their total earnings can grow very quickly. In contrast, most workers get fixed wages or salaries that don't change much, no matter how well the company does. This big pay gap affects personal finance and budgeting because it shows how income is shared within companies. While CEOs get large bonuses and stock options, many workers earn wages that don't keep up with inflation or rising living costs. For example, at many low-wage companies, worker pay has barely increased in real terms, and sometimes it has even gone down, while CEO pay keeps climbing. Understanding this huge pay gap helps explain why economic inequality is a big issue today. It's one reason many workers find it hard to save money or improve their financial situation even if they work full-time. It also makes clear why discussions about fair wages, worker benefits, and corporate responsibility are so important for personal finance and budgeting. In the end, the real pay gap between CEOs and workers is enormous and keeps growing. CEOs earn hundreds of times more than the typical employee, which highlights the challenge of income distribution and financial security for many workers today.
The devil that the Bible speaks of, man. And I just brought that out to show you the nature of the system. But guess what? I just looked this up while that video was playing. All right. So you go here. So I asked the chat because before it even got to this point, okay, what the devil is doing now. So I asked the chat, did the modern economy get its jump start from the transatlantic slave trade and colonialism? All right. So let's go here. It says, yes, the transatlantic slave trade and colonialism significantly contributed to the rise of modern global economy, especially in Europe and North Africa. But historians agree they were part of a larger set of factors, not a single jump start. How they contributed: capital accumulation, profits from enslaved labor, especially in sugar, cotton, and tobacco, generated large amounts of wealth. Some of this money flowed into banks, and those banks still exist. You can research the banks. All right, they were started from slavery, from slave profits. Okay, ports, factories, and insurance system, insurance companies. Okay, that's why we will bond men and bond women. They will have insurance on us, man. Okay, industrialization links. All right, cheap cotton produced by enslaved people was crucial for early textile industries, particularly in Britain. Colonialism created worldwide trade routes, markets, and financial systems, okay, that modern capitalism still relies on. Okay? Goddamn devil, man. It says uh state power and infrastructure. Colonial profits helped governments fund navies, roads, and institutions that supported economic growth, man. Everything this nigga had was off the backs of slave labor, man. Okay? Now he's just transformed and enslaved the whole earth. Okay? And now he wants to take that slavery further with the digital slavery. enslavement, man. Okay, so everything this nigga got is based off the labor of the tribes, man. You know, this nigga walk around like he's the high IQ and you know natural selection and all this bullshit. No, nigga, you got your jump start because the Most High gave us it to your hands, man. Okay, that's why you're on top. Okay, the Lord set you up. And He finna break you down, and that's the beautiful part. And finna set us back up, man. Okay, and so then AI tries to soften it up. Okay, but nah, man, that's the main thing, man. All right, nigga, that was your jump start. Okay, you can't get around it. You see, so let's go back here. Um, go back to the book of James. It's the book of James, chapter 5, verse 5. It says, you have lived in pleasure on the earth, and being wanton, you have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter. Okay? And this is speaking of Esau. You have lived in pleasure on the earth. Okay? And being wanton, which is undisciplined, man. Okay? But this man has just fattened himself for the slaughter. Okay? Let's go here because that's even how showing you that the rich man is speaking of Esau too in the parable of the rich man. All right, and Lazarus, when you go to Luke 16, um, it's the book of Luke, chapter 16, verse 19. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. Esau, man. Speaking of the same things, see the Bible, precept upon precept, line upon line, but it paints the picture. It gives the clarity of the matter. You see? So this certain rich man, which was clothed in purple and fine linen, which goes back to royalty, okay, and fared sumptuously every day, man. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores, man, and that's us. And we was laid at this nigga's gate by the Most High. We was reduced to a beggar because of disobedience, okay, but through repentance, all right, based on the sacrifice of Yahweh, all right, we're going to be brought back to rulership. And the rich man is going to go into captivity, Esau, Edom. Okay, you go here to the book of Job. All right, just linking it up in the spirit. And I pray that this is making sense. It's like in the book of Psalms, but then the book of Job later on. All right, so you go into Psalms 73. All right, Psalm 73 and 3 says, for I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked, for there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. Okay, these devils have, generational wealth, so they have this system to where they just, just can just enrich themselves, man. Okay, all the wealth flows to them. You see, each generation gets stronger and more wealthy. You see, he said they are not in trouble as other men, neither is they plagued like other men. They don't have the worries, okay, of most men. Okay, who it was, Jermaine Dupri and Jay-Z had the song "Money Ain't a Thing." Well, these devils have that on a whole nother level. Okay, money really ain't a thing to these devils, man. It said, therefore, pride compasses them about as a chain, violence covers them as a garment. Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than the heart can wish, man, than the mind. They have more than you can fathom with the mind. The wealth they have stored up, the wealth they have coming in, you can't even fathom that type of wealth. We wouldn't know where to begin. That's why even to enjoy the blessings of the Most High that He has for His people, we got to be changed, man. We got to be elevated just to comprehend the blessing that the Most High is finna give us, man. Our righteous are we endure. All right, you brothers, you few sincere sisters, man. May we endure. You see, but yeah, speaking of that guy, man, Esau, man, the elites, Amalek, man. Okay, well, all you Edomites and the rest of you heathens finna go into captivity. Okay, can't put that out there enough. Okay, verse 6 says, "You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you." Okay, yeah, man, because Jake doesn't have the ability to resist these devils. The wealth gap is so big, the military gap is so big. Jake ain't got no goddamn military, man. Even these northern kingdom countries, okay, they can't resist Esau with Brazil military. If all the southern, all right, all the central south, okay, American country decides to come together, there still won't be no match for the devil, man. Okay, so we can't resist. You get to the southern tribes up here in America, it ain't even, Jake catch hell with ice. You see? So we can't resist, man. And this devil just won't stop. This devil just won't stop, man. That perpetual hatred that the scriptures goes into, man. Okay? Matter of fact, let's get that real quick in Amos, and then we'll go back. It's the book of Amos, chapter 1. All right, in verse 10. No, it's 11. Amos 1:11 said, "Thus said the Lord Yahweh about your mouth shy for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever." Okay, so it's just an ongoing hatred that this devil just had for the tribes, man. Even though the tribes are not in any position to resist this nigga, man. It's just been an ongoing hatred, man. Okay, and any chance he get, he just get off on Jake, man. Okay, and what he's been doing covertly against Jake, the crack epidemic, the guns, and dropping the guns off and glorifying the culture where Jake destroyed themselves. All this being charged against the devil, and you got wicked 2/3 that's gonna be judged in the midst of that too for continue to forward this nigga wickedness, man. Okay, but you devils are not guilty, man. Meaning, Shalaki are not innocent. You see, you're more than guilty. So let's go back here to James 5:7. All right, this is the book of James, chapter 5, verse 7 said, "Be patient, therefore, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it until he receive the early and latter rain." Okay, and I want to go into this just from an agricultural standpoint of the farmer, the latter rain, the significance of that, dealing with ancient Israel farming customs. Okay, because you go here just a quick, and it's heavy, man. And we are their fruit. Okay, that's being cultivated by this word, getting ready to be harvested by Yahweh Shai. Okay, so let's go here. Yeah. So it says, understanding James 5:7, how it is related to ancient Israel agriculture system. Okay, so let's go into it. It says, "Be patient, therefore, brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth," and their precious fruit are the elect. Okay, it's being watered by this rain. Being patient with it until it receives the early and latter rains. All right, it says this verse makes much more sense when you read it through the lens of ancient Israel's agricultural system, which James' audience would have understood indistinctly. It says ancient Israel's rain-based farming, unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, Israel did not rely on major rivers or irrigation systems. Farming depended almost entirely on seasonal rainfall, which made patience and trust essential. Okay? It says the two key rains. It said early rain, October through November, soften the hard summer soil, allowing plowing and sowing, especially grain like wheat and barley. Okay? Latter rain enable crops to mature and fill out before harvest. You see that? Without it, the crops would fail or be stunted. Okay, so the truth, we received the early and latter rain. Okay, of this word. You see, the seed was planted. You see, and then we began to constantly be watered so we can mature and fill out before the harvest, man. You see, it says the farmer's role, limited control, required patience. Once the seed was planted, the farmer could not force growth. He could not rush the rain. He had to wait, sometimes for months, trusting that the rain would come in the right order. Okay, and who did we have to trust on? Yahweh Bashemal Shai. We have to trust on our power. We have to trust the process, man. Just like we have to trust the process now. We're subjugated to the timing of the Lord, man. All right. So this was not passive laziness. It was active endurance combined with hope. How James uses this image. James is writing to believers experiencing oppression, injustice, and hardships. Instead of calling for retaliation, he urges patient endurance. You see? We're in the same predicament, man. Okay? So we're waiting on the Lord of the harvest, man. Yahweh Shai to come reap what he's planted. You know, he planted this truth in us. Okay? It was likened to the early rain. All right? And we began watered, okay, and cultivated by this word is likened to the latter rain, which making us mature for the harvest, man. Okay? If that makes sense. It says, just as the farmer trusts the timing of the Most High's natural order, believers are called to trust the Most High's redemptive timeline until the coming of the Lord. For James' audience, Most High's justice was as certain as harvest. Okay? The Most High's justice was as certain as harvest. Delay did not mean denial. Complaining or turning against one another was like digging up seeds to check if they were growing. You see? Now you got to go through, you got to trust the process, man. Okay, so why this metaphor was powerful to ancient Israelites? Farming was life or death. Okay, like this word is life or death. All right, just as if you don't receive this word, that's death unto you. If you refuse this early and latter rain, this word, that's death unto you, man. Okay, it says everyone understood what happens when rain is late or comes too early. The metaphor reinforces humility. Humans cooperate with the Most High, but the Most High controls the outcome. Okay? James 5 and 7 draws on Israel rain-dependent agriculture to teach that the Most High works, all right, unfolds in stages. Patience is not weakness, but faith is the Most High's timing. Just as harvest is certain after the rains, the Most High's justice and restoration, all right, are certain even if delayed. Okay, so that goes back to our culture, man. It's a very spiritual, our agriculture system. The early and latter rain is extremely spiritual, and it requires patience. It requires and trusting in Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. Just as we're in that same predicament today. Now, it made me think of this precept. I'm gonna go get this and made me think of this. I think this is it First Corinthians 3. Let's see. Might be second. Yeah, no, here's it right here. All right. This is First Corinthians 3:5. It says, "Who then is Paul, who is Apollos, but minister by whom ye believe, even as the Lord gave to every man? I have planted, Apollos watered, but the Most High gave the increase." Okay, so the Apostle Paul was like the early rain, he planted. Apollos was likened it to the latter rain, he watered, but it was the Most High that gave the increase. And that same system is in place today. Okay, it's that same process today of us being planted with this word, all right, this truth, then being watered, and now we're just waiting on the harvest. As believers, we're all waiting on that same harvest, man. You know, so let's go back here to the book of James. All right, the book of James, chapter 5. Okay, um, in verse 8, it says, "Be ye also patient, establish your hearts, your mind, being rooted." Okay, this is a great spirit. It's a time for us to take root. Okay, so we can stand in the storm. All right, it says, "For the coming of the Lord draweth nigh." Okay, so we need to be rooted because before Yahweh Shah shows up, we're going to be tried. We're going to be in the midst of the storm, man. The scripture speak about the floods. This devil. All right, his whole thing is to overwhelm society to the point of people just caving in and accepting this new system, man. We need to be rooted. Okay, there's going to be a time of endurance before Yahweh Shah returns, man, and judges this, man. It says, "Grudge not one against another, brethren, lest you be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door," man. This ain't time, petty arguments and grudges and holding on. Nah, man. We all fight. We got flaws and, little small petty offenses, man. Hey, nah, man, we can't get caught up in that. Okay? This is time to be locked in. All right, James 5:10 said, "Take my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering affliction and of patience. Behold," all right, "we count them happy which endure. You have heard the patience of Job and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful, all right, of tender mercy." Okay, so let's go into the end of Job, okay, which is the book of Job. That's our story, man. All right, we was chastened, okay. We call hell. You see, we even catching hell in the earth, man. All right, we lost it all, okay. It's Job, but just as Job, we're gonna get it all back, okay. So you go to the book of Job 42:10. It says, "And the Lord turned the captivity of Job." You see that? This is He's going to turn our captivity. Okay? When he prayed for his friends, also the Lord gave twice as much as he had before. You see? So Job got it all back. Then some. Okay? Then came down to him all his brethren and all his sisters and all they that had been of his acquaintance before, and did eat bread with him in his house. And they bemoaned him and comforted him over all that evil the Lord had brought upon him. Every man also gave him a piece of money, and every one an earring, okay, and every one an earring of gold, so that the Lord Yahweh Bashim al Shah blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels, and a 1,000 yoke of oxen and 1,000 she asses. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he called the name of the first Jemimah, and the name of the second Keziah, and the name of the third Karen Hapak. All right, and it says, "And in all the land there was no woman found so fair as the daughters of Job, and their father gave them inheritance among their brethren." And it says, after this Job, all right, after this lived Job 140 years, and saw his sons and his sons' sons, even 4 generations. All right. So even though children that he lost in the beginning of the book of Job, he seen them come back. All right. Is what you come back in your third and fourth. All right. Uh, 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 generation. Okay. So Job got everything back, including children he lost, plus an increase, man. Okay. Was will promise increase from my former statement. You go back to the times of King David and King Solomon, our golden age, okay, as a people, where the Lord is going to do us better than that, okay, because we lost it all just as Job, okay. So you read this, this is Ezekiel 36 and 11, just getting to the point. It says, I will multiply upon you man and beast, okay. This is Job. He increased in true wealth, livestock, you know, gold, resources, And it says, and they shall increase and bring fruit, and I will sell you after your old estates. We're going to be restored. And will do better unto you than at your beginning, and you shall know that I'm the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai, man. And that's what we're waiting on. Okay? Yahweh Shai is coming with a great restoration, man. Okay? Even people that we lose on this side, because Job, he lost people. He lost sons and daughters. You see? What did Yahweh Shai tell us? All right. He goes, Matthew 19:27. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all and follow me. What shall we have? Okay. What shall we have here thereafter? It says, and Yahweh Shai said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone that have forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands for my name's sake shall receive an hundredfold and shall inherit everlasting life. Okay? You see that? So nah, man, even people we lose are gonna get back. Okay, so ain't no losing in the truth, man. Okay, only win. You see, and there's only winning for Israel, man. Beginning with the elect, man. Ain't no losing in the truth, man. It's light work for the Lord to give us, all right, people that we lost back. It said, but many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first, man. And that's that come up, all right. The rich man Lazarus, all right. It's that trading places, all right, of Jacob and Esau. Okay, so let's go back to the book of James here to close it out. This is James 5. All right, and read 11 again. Say, behold, we count them happy which endure. You have heard of the patience of Job and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy. But above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by earth, neither by any other oath. But let your yea be yea, and your nay be nay, lest ye fall into condemnation. Which Yahweh Shai said that, which this is a brother of Yahweh Shai. Okay? This is, being straightforward, man. Deal as men. That's something that, hey, we have to deal as men, man. Be direct. Your yay be yay, your nay be nay. Okay? It says, is any among you afflicted, let him pray. Is any merry, let him sing songs. Is any sick among you, let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up. And if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him. Confess your faults one to another, and pray for one another, that ye may be healed. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Because at the end of the day, to sum it up, we all we got, man. Pray for each other, brothers into the anointing oils and the herbs, and it's all activated through faith and prayer. So we have, a network to tap into. Okay. It says Elijah was a man subject to like passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly that it might not rain. And it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years, all right, and 6 months. And he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth and convert him, all right, let him know that he which converted the sinner from error of his way shall save a soul from death and shall hide a multitude of sins. You know, so even going back to Elijah, as he shoved the heavens for 3 years and a half, okay, and then he prayed again, all right, and the heaven gave rain. It's symbolic to this word as well. It was shut up for a season, all right, but now the earth is being flooded, okay, with this rain. The elect is being flooded, all right, and it's producing meat for repentance, man. Okay, so that's the point. Just wanted to tap in. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters are edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutation to the hopeful and shalom.